Welcome back, everybody, and thanks for stopping by and checking out our next Cisco ASA Basics video. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at how to enable NAT on an ASA. So this is something that I struggled with initially when I started working with ASAs a long time ago. I didn't understand the concept of how NAT worked on an ASA. I thought it was much like an iOS router, and it really isn't. So we're going to go configure what they call object NAT, where we create an object that is going to call what they refer to as a subnet. And the subnet is going to reference the 10.1.4.0/24 network right here. So the idea is whenever traffic from router 4 goes to leave out ASA 2, we're going to forward that traffic through the ASA out towards wherever it's got to go. In this case here, we're going to do some testing to the iNet router through Telnet and SSH. But in order for this to work, this is what they commonly refer to as dynamic NAT, dynamic PAT, where what we're going to be doing is we're going to be natting anything from the 10.1.4.0/24 network that is right here on router 4 over to the 102.0.0.2 IP address. So any traffic that comes from router 4 will appear as though it's actually coming from ASA version 2 or ASA v2 here, and that'll be how we get this up and running. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the command line, and we're going to go ahead and get started with this configuration. I'm going to jump over here to the ASA, and I'm going to go to global config. And the very first thing that I have to go do is I have to create a network object. So I'll type in object, and then network, and then the name of the network, which I'm going to say is going to be R4 LAN. This could be any name that you give it. It just has to be something, I recommend something unique. And now, in order for this to work, we have to give the object some sort of information to reference. So we're going to say subnet. The subnet is going to be 10.1.4.0/24. And that is it. The object itself has now been created. If we show run object network, we can see that that's been configured. Pretty straightforward stuff. Now, in order to enable NAT on this, you don't actually have to leave the object. Okay, we have an option down here called NAT. So I'm going to go ahead and type in NAT and spacebar question mark, and then we have some operations that we can use. So I'm going to use the parentheses to define what the source and what the destination name if information is going to be. So in other words, I want to tell the object network of R4 LAN if traffic from 10.1.1.4 is received. So from inside to outside, if the traffic flows from the inside to the outside, I want to allow the NAT to happen. So this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to type in inside to comma outside, close parentheses, and then I have some options here. This is going to be a dynamic entry, so on demand, and then I have to specify what I'm going to map that to. I'm going to type in interface. The interface command here references this portion of the NAT in parentheses right here. So I hit the enter key, and now the NAT entry has been created. If I jump out of global config and I do a show NAT, we're going to see that we have a section 2. This is an auto NAT or an object-based NAT, where it says the first entry is inside to outside source dynamic R4_LAN interface, which means that we're going to reference the object with the IP address of 10.1.4.0/24. If any traffic is received from that particular source, we're going to NAT it over to the 102.0.0.2 IP address. Now, one thing I'm going to go do on the iNet router is show run pipe include route. I'm actually going to go and remove a static route that I have configured on here from previous testing. I'm going to go in here and type in no and remove the static route because I do not want that in there. I'm going to go back over to R4, and I'm going to hit the up arrow, and I'm going to telnet to 102.0.0.1. I'm going to go ahead and telnet. It pops up right away. I'm going to type in Rob and Cisco. If I go back to the ASA and I do a show NAT, you can see that I have one translated hit. right there. If I do a show xlate, I have an active connection from TCP PAT from 10.1.4.4 with this random source IP or source port to 102.0.0.2, and it's working the way that it needs to. If I show connection long, I'm going to have an active connection from 10.1.4.4 to the 102.0.0.1 on port 23. If I go to this router here and I do a show users, you'll see that inside this entry that I have an active connection, and because this is a well-known port number, I actually have a DNS entry inside of the router. The iNet router is acting as a DNS server, and basically what's happening is if I show run, give that a second to pop up, we will see that right here I have IP domain name and I have an IP host. I have IP host vpn.sn.com maps to this. So what this allows me to do for testing remote access VPNs and doing DNS queries and things like that related to DNS and looking at distinguished names and things like that, it allows me to use the iNet router as a DNS server so that I can test out those capabilities rather than just relying on an identity matching based off of the IP address, which is out of scope for this video, but it makes sense in order for us to go through the process of doing this. So the other thing that I want to call out real quick is because of the fact that we have things set up the way that we do, we are now natting the traffic from 10.1.4.4 to 102.0.0.1, which is what you would normally see in production. So for every entry, if we look back up here, so for every time a traffic from R4 hits ASA2 going out to a destination not local to the ASA, and the ASA has to punch it out towards the internet, there will be an additional hit that comes up on this guy. Now, as a sidebar note, if we do a show NAT real quick, we see section 2, right? There's actually 3 separate sections to ASA NAT. The first one is what they refer to as manual NAT, which is normally going to be manually configured, or twice NAT as I commonly refer to it. We'll take a look at that when we configure a site-to-site VPN and use NAT at the same time to allow internet access and VPNs on an ASA at the exact same time. Section 1 is processed before Section 2. Section 2 is processed before Section 3. Section 3 is what they refer to after auto. So you can have additional NAT processes in process if you want. So if we were to configure manual NAT, you would see Section 1. If we were to configure after auto NAT, you would see that in Section 3. Neither one of those are applicable right now, but I just wanted to call them out just in case you were wondering how that worked. That's pretty much it for this video. Thanks so much for stopping by and hanging out with me in this video. Until next time, guys, take it easy.